Hi, I've attempted to reach you to chat about whether or not our services are a good fit for you, but unfortunately, I haven't had any success. That said, it's become fairly obvious that either you have been eaten by an alligator or you're just plain swamped. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for listening to us here on the Slow Pitch. And we talk about sales and the problems that you might have in sales, and especially for new people that have gotten into sales and they're not sure what to do. So that's kind of what we're all about. And if you're new here, I'm Rob.
And I'm Lane.
Hey, Lane, how are we doing?
Doing great, Rob. You?
I'm doing well. Hey, that first little opening question sounded like an email, right? And did that pique your interest at all? Did you get you're like, hey, what is this? What is this guy talking about? Is this guy crazy?
Yeah. So first of all, I hate getting emails like that, but this one is a little bit better than the typical one. So I groaned a bit at the you've either been eaten by alligators or you're just swamped.
Well, that is the point. So today we're going to talk about the one email that I will send, particularly when people stop responding. And I get I can't even tell you how high of a percentage rate. If I had to guess, it's probably 95% response rate when I send this email. So are we ready? Let's get started.
You're listening to the Slow Pitch Podcast, a podcast about selling less and closing more.
All right, Lane. So you said you hate getting these kinds of emails. Why do you hate getting these emails? Why is that?
Well, it's those cold emails that you get where just, hey, I want to talk to you, and I don't want to talk to you, and then a day later you get the next one. I'd still really like to talk to you, and I still don't.
Or I don't know. Maybe you didn't see my email. Well, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I know, and everybody's like, yeah, okay, maybe it's because I didn't want to see your email and I don't want to talk to you, right?
Exactly.
All right. So that is not how this email works. So this is an email. This is a template I use, and this is an email that I send out, particularly when I run into somebody who's stopped responding. That doesn't mean that I send this out before I've ever met with them. I don't send this out just after I've met with them. I don't send this out anytime ever until certain things are met. So that being said, let me read the full email for you so you know what the whole thing really says. So you heard the beginning. Hi, I've attempted to reach out to you to chat about whether or not our services are a good fit for you. Unfortunately, I haven't had any success. That said, it's become fairly obvious that either you have been eaten by an alligator or you're just plain swamped. If you have been eaten by alligators, my deepest sympathies go out to your family and you. If you're in fact alive, I can only assume one of the following has happened. Please pick one that best fits and let me know what your next steps will be, right? And then I have a list of things that they can pick from, and this is their options. 1, yes, I've been eaten by alligators. Please send flowers to my family. That's obvious. You got to address that one first, right? So it always gets a laugh. I'm sure of it because I've had people actually call me and laughing call me. Number 2, no, I haven't been eaten by alligators, but you may wish I had. You'll wish it because I have zero interest in your service. Thank you for your honesty. I can handle it. And that's in parentheses. Thank you for your honesty. But the important part is you put the word zero, capital letters, zero interest, bold, underlined, make it so that it's a point of I have zero. I don't ever talk to me again. I want to know that, right? I'll put in there sometimes I can handle it, or, I have my big boy pants on. I can, it's okay. It depends on their personality. I'll say different things in there. The third option they have is, yes, we have some interest in learning more about, and you fill in your service, but here are my challenges. And then there's a space for them to be able to address that, whatever that might be. The fourth option is, yes, you've reached me at the right time, and I'd like to set an appointment to talk or meet. And then I put in there, here's where a couple locations they could be. And a good time to contact me is, and then I put the space for them to be able to tell me when's a good time to contact. And the fifth option is, I'm not the right person. And in parentheses, I have, I never was, or I no longer am. Please contact. And then there's a space to who I should contact. So it's happened where somebody's gotten promoted, okay, or moved, and they're not the person I should be talking to anymore. That's happened. So that's what that's there for. And number 6 is other. It's just like, okay, if it's none of these, what is it then, right? And it simply closes, thank you, Rob. That's it. That's all there is to it. Why do you think I get a good response rate out of this?
Probably because it makes them stop and laugh a little bit, and it makes it easy to actually reply to you, even if it's I have zero interest. At least it makes it easy to kind of break that ice.
Yeah, in fact, I've actually had people email me just the number 2. That's all it said in their email was number 2. And I'm like, okay, well, now I know. Right. So, but that's okay. I'll take that. I'll take that versus no response whatsoever. But at least they are able to say two, and they know that's not going to offend me.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I'll put in there too, is like, thank you for your honesty. You won't offend me. It's okay. Whatever that might be, whatever it might be that I need to put it that addresses either their personality or the style that they have for their disc profile, that kind of thing. But it really is one of those responses that you get that first is usually a laugh. So they'll start their email with a haha kind of a thing, and then they'll give me some answers, or they'll call me. I've actually had people call me after that email and they go, I'm really sorry. It's taking me so long to respond. We had this, and this happen. It was unexpected. And, we should talk some more. Let's go through this, or let's finalize it, hey, there's no interest. And that's okay. What the goal of the letter is to just get people to move from nothing, right? I want to know, are we moving and taking another step, or are we not taking another step? So when do you think I would use this email? Because I said I don't use it before we ever meet. It's not one of those ones that you get where, just like you described, I've gotten those where it's like, hey, I want to talk to you. And have you ever responded to something like that?
I don't believe I ever have. No.
Me either. Even if it sounded interesting, like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if I would ever use an app, or if I would ever, whatever. It never pans out for me to be able to respond. And I don't know anybody who would. So to me, if you're going to cold anything, it's got to be a call. And better than that, you get an introduction, right? But when do you think I use this email?
Well, my guess would be after you've had one or two meetings, and you're kind of fleshing things out, trying to get an idea for what your prospect is doing, gauging their interest in things. That would be my guess. That's kind of where I have in mind that I may need to utilize this for one of my prospects.
That's a good guess. I would say that I guess the best way to word it is that I rarely send this email out. So it's never after a meeting or two. The only time that I've ever had to send this email out is after I've gone through the estimate with them. I go through their whole all of the discussion, all of the stuff that we talk about, where you get all the pains, you go through all of that, you go through the budget, you've got all the people that are supposed to be involved. You start making sense of all their pains. You just put together the project, whatever that might be. You get an estimate, you put all together the numbers. They know everything, right? That's when they usually disappear if you don't do it right, right? So have you ever had it where you finished kind of going through numbers, going through a little bit of that conversation, and then you can't get another meeting with them?
Yeah, you just get ghosted.
Yeah. And what do you do then, right? You can call. They just send you an email or a voicemail.
Yeah. Yeah. You can reach out a time or two, and then you just have to kind of give up.
Yeah. So the best thing I would recommend when that happens, I refer to this email, but not until a couple things happen. One is if you're using this email, you've already had and have built some sort of a relationship. So use the phone first. Pick up the phone and call the person, leave them a voicemail. And sometimes the voicemail can be as simple as, I think I'd get a hold of you at all. And I just wanted to be able to ask you one more question. If you have a second, it might impact what we talked about a little bit. And that's it. Like, make it, or give them a reason to call you. And the one question that you have is, what are we doing? That basically is what you want to know an answer to, right? But if you don't make that phone call, you have to do that a few times and leave those voicemails a couple times. And to me, mentally, I say, I wouldn't send this email unless I've called at least 5 times to reach out and ask them to call me back. Because usually the first time, hey, it happens. Second time, hey, you know what? They're busy. I know, I get it. The third time I might say, boy, you must be really busy over there. I know when we talked, it seemed like you were really busy, but boy, this is obviously true because I can't seem to get a hold of you. If you call me back, I promise to only take 10 minutes or less. That's all I need. And usually I'll get a call back from that. But if I don't get any calls back, that's when I send this email out and I get a response almost every time. Can you think of a situation that you've had, Lane, where in the past or in the last little bit that you run into where you could use this?
Yeah, Rob, I've got a customer I can't say customer. I hope they're a customer, a prospect that I've been working with that went through everything, and I'm just having a hard time getting a hold of them, sent emails, a call or two, and I just can't seem to capture their attention again.
And that would be a good time to do that. Even if you haven't gone through the estimate, if you have, that's even better because you at least know, all right, there's something going on here. And I know we're probably not going to do business. And sometimes that's one of the voicemails you might call. So if you're running into that now with somebody, you could easily reach out, leave them a voicemail that says, hey, I get the feeling, even this email says the same thing. You could even leave them a voicemail that just says, I get the feeling that after we spoke, you decided we're not a good fit. And listening to that, they may go to themselves, no, that's not it at all. I'm just really busy, which may spark a quick note from them or a text message back or a phone call back to say, no, just hold tight. We're running a couple issues right now, or we're dealing with something right now. We just got to deal with that first. That happens. When you leave the voicemail, it can be something like that. Hey, I get the feeling we're not going to be doing business at all. And maybe I'm wrong, but it feels that way. And if I don't hear back, this is sort of like the fourth or fifth call, I might leave that message. If I don't hear back, probably by the end of the week or by whatever date in the future, I'm going to guess that it's not going to go forward. I think it sounds pretty fair because I haven't heard anything from you. It's usually what happens. So I hope to hear back from you, but have a nice rest of the day, that kind of thing. And really you'll get some sort of a response from that. And if you don't, that's what's happening. So that's when it's fun to send this email, because it's one last time where you can have a little bit of fun with somebody and make them laugh and at least go out on a high note, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
When they are hearing or reading this type of email, they'll remember you. I've even had it where after I send the email, months later, they'll reach back out and say, hey, all right, now can we talk? Because they remembered the email and they know that you're not trying to mess around. You're just trying to make sure that they're good or not good. That's all you want to know. And they're happy with that. You're pretty straightforward with them. So do you find that helpful? Would you ever use that again in the future if you're in the right situation?
Yeah, I absolutely would.
Do you have a question about sales? Call or text your question at 608-708-SLOW. That's 608-708-7569. Or you can email them to questions@theslowpitch.com. Now, back to the show.
So you're saying you wouldn't send this until after you've made 3 or 4 or 5 phone calls. So what do you say on your first phone call?
Yeah. So it depends on where you've left it last. So my response to that question would be, when you last spoke to them, what were you working on, or what did you just speak about? Because the reason I'm asking is the way you asked that question, it sounded like you hadn't gone through the estimate.
No, we had not gotten that far.
Okay.
I just learned about them. I was going to come back and create a more formal proposal.
Okay. Before you leave, and this is more of a learning thing for anybody, is before you leave your last meeting, that's when you should be lining up your next meeting and putting it on the calendar with them. So it's one of those situations before you step out of the office, before you leave your last, whatever statement you're going to make on the phone, whatever it is, then it's at that point you say, hey, just so we're on the same page and I don't pester you. That's always what I always tell them too. I don't want to pester you. So I don't pester you. When are we meeting next to wrap this up? When are we meeting next or talking next to make sure that we finalize all the details, or whatever it is that your next step is? Every time you leave a conversation, you should have here's what we're doing next, so that they know what you're expecting. And more importantly, you know what they're expecting. If they go, oh, I don't know, whatever, just call me, they're not probably going to answer your call. But if they say to you, well, all right, let's look at the calendar here real quick and let's go through that, and they schedule it, then you know that they're 90% they're gonna meet with you, unless something weird comes up that they have to be a part of. And sometimes it helps to even say, when you're looking at the calendar, I'm gonna, if you're on the phone, you can easily say, I was gonna put on my calendar, but before I do, should I use a pencil or a pen? I know it sounds funny, but is this going to change or is this not going to change? Is kind of what you're asking. And if they go, oh, no, pen, this is what we're going to meet then, that's one thing. The other thing is that I always ask is, if we're going to talk about the next meeting or conversation, is let's assume that we've set that date and something happens where you can't make that. How do you want to handle that? Will you give me some options to choose from? How do you want to deal with that? Because that could happen. And these are situations that you would come up with or say or deal with if they happen to you often. So if you have it where somebody says, I want to meet and talk again, and then they ghost you, or they don't confirm, or they don't do anything, then that would be the time that you would want to say, all right, let's make sure that we're in good shape by asking that question. How do I deal with, or what happens if we don't talk again, or we have to change your appointment? How do you want to deal with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally does.
So my first question back to you would be, when were you in this situation? And I'm not sure I would use this letter then at all at that point. Then it's more about getting in front of them again. And your job every time you leave a meeting is to try to set that up.
Yeah, lesson learned.
Yeah. What other questions?
No, so I was really just asking you, the first phone call, is there, you seem to have a pattern of what you say on phone calls. So cover the first, is there something different for the second and the third? And
yeah, no, it's not much different from each one. I mean, it's every one of them is going to have a follow-up question and a statement of, hey, I don't want to pester you, when should we plan to talk again next? Let's just schedule that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and there's the way you phrase it makes a big difference too, because if you come across as let's just schedule that, people are used to being told what to do when it's nice and gentle like that. When you say some things that don't sound really solid, like I'm not real sure of myself, or I don't know what I'm going to say next or how to say it, they pick up on that. And so they know that they pretty much have you where they want you. And so your job is to be very confident in what you're saying. Like, all right, when are we going to talk next? And they'll tell you. And if they kind of get a little weird on you, they don't want to be very specific, they don't want to talk and answer the question.
Right.
All right, now you know where you're standing. And honestly, that's one of those situations I would call out. I would say to them, I get the feeling you really don't want to meet again. And that's okay if you don't want to, because it may not be a good situation. Remember in the beginning when we first sat down, I told you that, hey, if we don't feel like we're going to fit well together, just tell me. That's totally okay. They'll tell you at that point if you say it and you call it out. If you don't call it out, then it gets weird. Because then you don't know what to do and they don't know what to do, and they don't want to just like avoid you. Have you ever been networking and you meet with somebody and you're in this position all of a sudden where they're asking you all these sales questions, and then you have to go see them again at another event and you're like, oh, I don't want to see them again. You just turn around and walk away from them or avoid them. That's not where you want to be. My goal is always to make it so that if I ever have to see them in public, network ever in that same situation, I don't want them to feel that way. I always want them to feel like, hey, how you doing? And it's totally normal, totally fine, and no skin off my back if you don't do business. I get it. No worries. There's plenty of other people out there. And you want them to feel that way because then they feel comfortable and they'll come back.
Good advice. Thank you.
Hey, if you like this episode and you want to hear more, go to theslowpitch.com. You can find more episodes, or you can go wherever you listen to your podcast. If you found this to be helpful, would you mind giving us a review and share it with someone who you think could use this information? We really appreciate it.